the macro issue that's going to be happening for the industry is we're going to see massive dislocations and reallocations and redeployments of many tens and tens of billions of dollars in media and advertising spend over the course of the next number of months. And that doesn't mean that everyone will be a loser, and it doesn't mean that just the most, let's say the most digital companies will be winners. I think the steps that people and companies take at this time will be what defines them particularly. Historically, we find that the companies that become the most myopic, that focus on how do I get through just today, how do I get through this week, will find themselves running out of steam in a couple months as fatigue sets in and as this goes forward. And so I think companies that are able to step back a little bit, and that's not easy, there's a lot of noise and a lot of anxiety in this, but to try to take a little bit more of a longer view and a measured view are likely to be the most successful. I think those that are able to keep their teams focused will make a really big difference. And I think that it's not just going to be about talking focus, it's really going to be a layout vision and opportunities for success in this new normal. And we will see, we will see interesting opportunities. Ironically, our business probably has never been as busy as we have been in the last 2 weeks. And the reason for that has been that, number one, there's been a real growth around advanced advertising generally, and a recognition that the old ways of doing TV advertising have to change. But number two, we've seen really significant cancellations in live sports. So you have literally billions of dollars of advertising in television that was allocated a year ago in last year's upfront, where conditions have now occurred where that advertising can't run. And many of those marketers, virtually all of those marketers, put in place products, goods, promotions, distribution opportunities for product launches, anticipating that advertising was going to happen. And that advertising needs to happen. They need to create the awareness among those consumers to be able to meet their business goals. And so we've spent a lot of time, as I say, literally in the last 2 weeks, redeploying money that was targeted to young males for March Madness to make sure that those advertisers in the month of March could find young males across tens of thousands of different television shows in 100+ different networks. Because another thing that's happened in television particularly is that the world of TV advertising, it's basically been running on the same rails that have been fixed in concrete for most of the last 3 or 4 decades. It's about sex age demos, buying big tentpole shows, committing to them a year in advance, and then just wait to see what happens and get the ratings and the hundreds of millions of people that get exposed to your sight, sound, and motion 30-second, 15-second, or 60-second ads. Now, we're not going to see nearly as many tentpole shows. We're not going to see the live sports that are these massive tentpoles. The advertisers are now going to have to find their audiences across hundreds of channels, lots of different day parts, with so many people now working from home. Certainly probably half of the U.S. workforce will be in home within the next few weeks across the country. The TV viewing habits, all of the media consumption habits are going to change dramatically. And so we're not going to be able to find audiences based on old truisms of types of content and types of programming. We're going to have to rely on data. We're going to have to rely on analytics. We're going to have to rely on automation. We're going to have to be able to show advertisers real transparency. This is going to ultimately fracture infrastructure processes that, as I say, were sort of baked in concrete over decades. And the industry, the television industry, all of the media industry are not going to come out of this the same way. And so, I see one of my obligations as the CEO of this company to really make sure that, yeah, we do a great job in calming folks inside the team this week, but I'm really concerned about what are we going to be doing in the third quarter, the fourth quarter, in 2021 and 2022, because I think that's where things are going to get really difficult. And I think that for all of us that have been through significant events, and this event is by far much more significant than anything I've ever had to go through, you know, we are going to have to get ready for the long haul. We're really going to have to understand how to keep calm and carry on. And what I worry about as someone who, you know, while I'm, you know, a kid from a small coal town in Western Pennsylvania, I live in Manhattan, one of the world's most vibrant, you know, cities in the world. And, you know, I'm particularly concerned with what happens to our cities and our infrastructure, and, you know, all of the people that don't have the capacity to go virtual. For all of the wrangling we're doing right now to get our people ready to be virtual, there's a lot of people whose jobs won't be able to be virtual and will be out of work, and that's going to have enormous impacts on them and their families. And you know, the ripple effects that this is going to have across our society. So I'm hopeful, and I know it's going to be important, and maybe it's a little trite, but I think how the media industry responds, how we are able to deliver news, information, how we're able to deliver entertainment programming to help people through this is going to be important, and that's going to be paid for with advertising. And we're going to have to find ways to make this work. That is going to be a new normal. It's something that's different than our industry's had to deal with before. But I have a lot of confidence that we now are bringing technology together with this industry in a way that we can do things we've never had before, and we're going to have to look at the extraordinary disruptions and the difficulties everyone's going through, that we're going to have to make opportunities in that to ensure that this can be stable, and so that everybody can be as safe and secure and healthy as possible.